Welcome to the Beam and Flow podcast. This is a nitty-gritty exploration of your body, energy, awareness, movement, and flow. I'm your host, Chloe Cofresi, and I am so excited to deep dive into all of the ways you get to create a life that feels like summer camp. This podcast is about exploring that possibility in your body, in your awareness, in your energetic exchanges, in your finances, in your relationships. We are looking at how to have a life that feels like summer camp. So buckle up, baby. Vamos! Buenas, familia. I am so excited to be back here with you. It has been such a wild month. I can't believe that we're already in the middle of January. Just wild. When I think that 2 weeks ago, I was sitting here recording the energy episode in my white sweatpants for New Year's Day, it feels like a lifetime ago. So much has happened in the last 2 weeks. And I think 2025 is going to be one of those years where it's just like one thing after another, astrologically, macroeconomically, historically, whatever framework we're looking at, we are in for a wild ride this year. There's going to be a lot of turbulence, lots of systems changing. And that means externally and internally. Pero today, we're not really talking about that. We are talking about the M in Beam and Flow. So the M in Beam and Flow stands for movement. We have body, energy, awareness, movement, and flow. And so for those of you who are joining us for the first time, Beam and Flow is my baby, my company, a vehicle for guiding spirit-led rebels to lives that feel like summer camp. That is my whole mission, helping as many of you as possible feel like the life you live gives you that feeling of summer camp, right? Of expansiveness, of friendship, of adventure, of nature, of connection to spirit, source, God, the universe. I came alive in summer camp, and summer camp for me, that feeling started before I even started going to camp. That feeling was with me every summer, every time I went back to Puerto Rico to be with my family in the mountains of Cialis and the jungle. That's where I came alive, and that's where I found myself spiritually. So my whole mission in life is to help as many of you feel that day to day as possible, whether you're living in the jungles of Puerto Rico or if you're living in the jungle of Brooklyn. I got you. Okay. So Beam and Flow is how I approach this summer camp as life. And to me, in order to awaken and play with and work with this summer camp as life energy, it takes a dedication, a devotion to being in alignment within your body, your energy, your awareness, your movement, and that will then express itself in your flow. And flow can be financial flow, it can be creative flow, it can be sensual, sexual flow, it can be relational flow. Flow is the working, the movement, right? The putting into action of the beam, of the body, energy, awareness, movement. What does all of that do? It gives us access to flow. So today we are talking about the movement piece. And I am really excited to talk about this because movement is really a key component of how I entered my spiritual awakening 12 years ago now. And movement can mean a lot of different things, right? So we have athletic movement, whether that's running or strength training, um, playing basketball or baseball or football. We have things like yoga or Pilates. We have dance, um, walking. But movement can also be working dynamically with your feet, um, with the asymmetry in your body. Movement can mean working intentionally with the movements of your eyes. Movement can include things like pelvic floor work, pelvic floor exercises. For those of you who don't know what that is, I do pelvic floor work all the time. I was introduced to it as a way of healing from the pain of endometriosis. And so pelvic work includes either using a clean finger or a dilator. So I don't use the plastic uh, medical grade dilators. I use chakrubs. They are crystal wands that are ethically sourced and blessed, and I have such a much better experience using those internally. But working with my pelvic floor with either a finger or the chakrub, it helps all of the muscles of my pelvic floor learn to relax and tighten when they need to, but to be in a state of relaxation most of the time. So movement can be a plethora of all of these different activities, right? Um, we want to be moving every day, but more importantly, we want to be moving with intention every day. So that can look a lot of different ways. For me, there's kind of a few different types of intentional movement that come up on a regular basis for me. One type of intentional movement is somatic movement. So, this is the type of work that I do in my bedroom with my little rubber balls that I've talked about before, with my foam roller, with a golf ball on my feet. Um, these are the PRI exercises, the Postural Restoration Institute. It left me for a second, came back. Postural Restoration Institute. We've got a couple of episodes on PRI. If you are unfamiliar with it, just search PRI, BEAM&Flow. We've got a couple of episodes that'll catch you back up. But a lot of these, and embodied flow work, which is what I trained in the Reynolds technique. I apprenticed in that. And so I incorporated the Reynolds technique with a lot of other work that I had been doing and came up with embodied flow. So embodied flow is working with the asymmetries in the body, working with fascial releases, working with developmental movement. So meaning I will do like little circles or figure eights, and I will intentionally take on the gait and the walk and the movement of different archetypes because I want to make sure that I have access to all of the different archetypes within me. So I might do a figure eight as a queen. I might do a figure eight as a toddler throwing a tantrum. I might do a figure eight walkabout as a yuppie. I might do a figure eight walkabout as my sacred slut. I might do a figure eight walkabout as the high priestess, right? There's all of these different archetypal energies that I get to access at any point. And by intentionally walking and taking on the gait, the mannerisms of that archetype, I'm expanding myself. I'm expanding the possibilities of who I get to inhabit today, who I get to be in this vessel, in this being. Uh, so that's one type of intentional movement. Another example of intentional movement is intentional dance. I've talked about dance so many times on this show, and I will continue to, because listen, if you can't intentionally throw that ass back and shake it all out, it will save you. It really will. In those moments when it is dark and dreary outside and inside in your soul, dance will reignite life again. Dance will awaken the inner rhythm within you, which all life is vibration, all life is rhythm. Dance helps connect you to that truth and reawakens you. So, intentional dance is definitely um, a part of this toolkit. Um, Another intentional movement that I do often is intentional walking. So I will go for a walk and I will some I mean I will, don't get me wrong, I will listen to podcasts or music very often when I'm walking. But when I want to do an intentional walk, I will not have anything in my ears. Um, and I will be walking actively noticing what I hear, noticing what I am seeing around me, noticing how my feet are hitting the ground. Is it the whole foot? What's going first? Is it the front of the foot? Is it the back of the foot? Is what's going on there? What's going on in my hips? What's going on in my waist? What's going on in my shoulders while I'm walking? I'm noticing all of those things. And by intentionally moving and noticing what's happening in that movement, every time I get downloads, I get clarity about sometimes stuff I didn't even know I needed clarity on. But that intentional walking is so, so helpful for me to clear my head, for me to get back into my body, for me to get back into alignment. So these are some daily movements practices that I find very, very helpful. And I mix and match what I'm going to, what I'm pulled to that day. Um, I do also want to talk about movement in terms of working out because I know I'm going to get that question from a lot of you. And so let's get into it. Do I work out? Yes, I do. Uh, do I work out in necessarily the way that you may read about, hear about in the wellness space? Eh, probably not. Although it's starting to come, you're starting to hear more and more about my approach to fitness as as the information gets put more in the space. So my approach to fitness, because I am a woman who is still in my reproductive years and still cycling every month, is that I change my workouts based on where I am in my cycle. And this is key. I cycle sync my entire life from when I'm creative to what types of projects I'm working on, when I'm putting myself out there socially, when I'm putting myself out there for pitches in like terms of business. I cycle sync everything, what I eat. So I definitely cycle sync my fitness. And you can too. So here's how I do it. Um, if you break down the 4 weeks of your monthly cycle with the acronym POWR, POWR. And all of this comes from the wisdom of Elisa Vitti in her books Woman Code and In the Flow. Huge shout out to Elisa. Uh, so here's the approach that I've taken from her. POWR, POWR. So immediately after your bleed, that's the P in power. This is your planning phase. Um, and in terms of movement, it's really great to do something new. Your hormones are like looking for new things. That's what helps them balance and optimize in this phase of your cycle. So, um, looking for a new path that if you're going for a walk or looking for a new class to try, um, looking for something new and different is going to be really helpful. Um, you're starting to get your energy back. So bringing in more cardio is great during this time. Uh, so that's the P of power. Then when you're ovulating, you're in the O of power, which is when you open up. And because your hormones are primed for sex at this point, you want to do workouts that make you feel sensual, right? So dance is my favorite thing to do when I'm ovulating. It is an amazing workout and it is exactly what my hormones want. It's what my body wants. So highly recommend dancing as your workout when you are ovulating. Um, and also like you can go hard. Like you could dance. Okay. You have a ton of energy at this point. Your body wants to be using that, like be in that cardio phase. So go hard with the dancing when you're ovulating. Um, if you want to do like more intense walks or runs, that's also a great time to do this. Um, and then we start to switch it up. After we ovulate, we go into the our luteal phase, which is the W of power. It's the W is work, right? So we get to do the work. And it's kind of WA and WB because there are two different pieces to your luteal phase. The first, your luteal phase lasts 10 to 14 days, right? A week and a half to 2 weeks. It's the time between when you ovulate and when you start bleeding. So, in terms of your workout during this time, during the first half of this 10 to 14 days, you still have a lot of energy. So, you can do pretty intense strength training during this time. Um, I have a strength training class that I do 2, 3 times a week, and I go harder when I'm in that part of my luteal phase. As you get closer and closer to your bleed, you want to start stepping it back. Definitely still strength training, right? But you want to step it back a bit. So maybe not going quite as hard with the weights or switching to something like Pilates, right? Um, that's the W, the working, the work of your fitness cycle. And then when you are bleeding, it's the R of power, which is rest, rest and review. So during the first 2 days of my bleed, I'm not working out at all. At all. My workout is a nap. That's my workout. I'm taking a nap. And that is exactly what my body needs. By the time day 3, 4 comes around, I'm starting to like get a little bit more energy back. So I'll go for a walk. If I want to go strength training, I'll go super light, but I might still do that. Um, and then we go back to the follicular phase, and I'm looking for new things, and I'm looking to like really boost my cardio again. So from a fitness standpoint, that is how I approach movement. I approach movement through a hormonally balanced cycle syncing approach. Um, and one last piece that I want to note about movement. When you move your body, because the physical and the emotional bodies are actually one, when you move your body, you are also moving emotions. When you move your body, you're moving all kinds of things that have felt stuck that you might not even have known about in a conscious way. But they're being worked out by your movement. So if you are feeling confused or anxious or depressed, I have been there. Whew, have I been there? And as much as it's as hard as it can feel to get up and move when you are feeling so down, I promise you, you will feel a little bit better or a lot of bit better if you move. Once you move, internally things will move too. They just will. That's how the body works. So that's what I wanted to share about movement. Keeping these episodes a bit shorter this season, these solo episodes. I am planning to be back with interviews for our season 10 in March, which I'm super excited about. Uh, and this has been a really lovely experience for me to really um, speak to you in this one-on-one kind of way. I know a couple of episodes this season we had technical difficulties and you didn't get to see me and it was only audio. So I appreciate your patience and listening and still going on this journey with me. And I do not take any views or likes or comments for granted. I know that your time is precious and you could be watching or listening to millions of other creators. So the fact that you're here with me right now is an honor and it's a responsibility that I don't take lightly. Thank you. Thank you for trusting me with your time. And I will be back in March. Woo, yay. That's also before I leave, I gotta say, because I love you guys. Um, I had some resistance in filming today. I setting things up. You don't want to all of the things that go into getting this on camera to you. And then as soon as I sat down and hit record, I was like, yeah, I'm on. Let's do it. Let's go. Um, and that is such a gift. It fills me with such joy to do this for you. And I thank you for that very, very much. In fact, I'm so lit up. I'm going to go do some dancing right now. Hasta luego. Queridas, we made it to one of my favorite parts of each episode, the moment of flow. I love poetry. I love words and rhythm and how when you mix the two, you get into a beautiful state of flow. And so I want to leave you with that at the end of each episode. So here it is, your moment of flow. Every cell move. Every inch of you move. Let the rhythm of your own vibration spark the tapping of your toes, the shifting of your feet, the swaying of your hips, the bending of your knees, the tilting of your pelvis, the shaking of your ass. Move. Let every cell in you move. Your heartstrings, let those move. Your lungs, every breath you take, they move in and out, expanding, contracting. Movement. Movement is life. Life does not happen in stuck energy. Life happens in momentum. Life happens in movement. Notice the movement of your eyes, the nostrils that flare with each inhale, the lips that quiver in anticipation of a lover's kiss. Notice the hands that speak for you in conjunction with your mouth, the movement of your entire being. Yes. If we are moving, and we are always moving, we are alive. Never stop moving.